With the fire being sent to the Russian army, there is a high possibility that Yevgeny Prigozhin's army will decide to fight side by side to avenge the killing of their boss, because until this time we are talking about Russia. Russia is still struggling to approach Kursk, and has failed due to the defeat and great opposition he is facing. The President of Russia, who is the military leader of the country, Putin, does not believe what is happening. The Russian army said that the Ukrainian army destroyed all the bridges they encountered as they were advancing. With such a step reached by Ukraine, there are complex questions that continue to arise. First, is this the time for Wagner to end their journey that they started with their boss Yevgeny Prigozhin towards Moscow and Russia? Second, is this the end of Putin and his intention to destroy Ukraine? Third, does it make sense that Russia's complaint that Ukraine is using Western weapons is valid if even Russia is also using weapons from Iran, Korea, and China? Fourth, for this complaint, Russia claims that weapons given to him by Korea, Iran, and China have not helped enough against fighting Ukraine. Really? The fifth question is, Russia has publicly admitted that Ukraine is using Western weapons to fight against him. Does it mean that Western weapons are the best compared to Russians? The only perspective that is clear is at the fate of the war is either the forces from the West to enter the field directly and help the Ukrainian soldiers or move the battlefield from Ukraine to Russia. This should be done by dealing with Russian citizens who are against the administration of Putin. The question is how? It should be motivating, supporting, equipping, training separatists of the Russian territory in order to sabotage the Russian military capability, and finally incapacitating it and launching offensive attacks against Ukraine. The problem of war is that these top leaders are on TVs and social media flexing their muscles while the victims are civilians who know anything. Although this is happening, it is believed that Ukrainian military forces are already in Russia. They are continuing with their military activities, fighting with the Russian soldiers. Russian army is until now struggling to stop them. Not to giving them away, but only preventing them from advancing further. The Ukrainian tyranny is due to the great military support it receives from NATO. Ukraine is not alone, it is a combination of Ukraine, NATO, Wagner, and almost all countries of the West. Even if Wagner helps Ukraine, he will be treated like other ordinary mercenaries. The countries that support Russia do not express their side openly. Maybe North Korea. But for China, I don't think he can join Russia even though they are still doing business without worry. Remember, China has greater interests in the United States and its allies than the interests it has in Russia or North Korea. At the same time, knowing that war is business for great nations like China, there are people who consider China to be with Russia. China does not consider itself as those countries that love war more than even food. Never. China cannot be put in the same group as Syria, Yemen, and North Korea, who 24/7 are thinking of conflict, and while having nothing to lose or gain. China cannot rush and start easily disrupting their economy that they have worked so hard for on the basis that they are fighting against Russia. Chinese people and leaders are aware of themselves. They did the calculations in Taiwan and saw that the loss would be greater than the profit, and they stopped. But people who liken war to Chelsea and Manchester games, we think that every country is ready to rush and go to fight without considering the consequences of that decision. China is not. In short, China will continue to watch the show, while NATO and the West use the blood of their people to fight for Ukraine with the criterion of finding a military strategic point of target. If Russia continues to attack in Ukraine, we may soon see this war leaving Ukraine and being fought on the Russian soil, since the Ukrainian army is pushing forward.